matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Boom, Taylor, we are here live on the radio.
Neither of those things are true.
I mean, we're alive. That part is kind of true.
Sure. And I guess technically, if you listen to this, it's like a radio. So fine.
Yeah, it's totally radio. How have you been? Let's whip up the banter.
Let's do it. Well, first off, welcome,
Oh,
friends,
right.
to Doomed to Fail. We are the podcast that brings you history's most notorious disasters and epic failures. And I'm Taylor, joined by Farz.
Taylor, should I just record a proper intro from you that I then splice in at the very beginning so that...
No, because I think my inflection is different every time. Just kidding, who cares? Sure.
Maybe the only way to streamline me forgetting things like the intro, but anyways, how have you been?
I have been well. Lots of Christmassy stuff happening. Florence played the violin at the town Christmas tree lighting, and there was snow in town the other day. They brought in boxes of ice and then wood chipped them. It made them into snow, and then the kids were able to have snowball fights and do a little bit of fake sledding, and it was very cute.
I think your kids are having one of the most idyllic experiences of
Thank you.
a child, because I can't imagine that if you're a kid growing up in LA, that's your lived experience is I think you're just in your cell phone and doing...
I mean, they watch plenty of TV, but there is something about a small town that is cool for raising children.
Well, TV's not okay, so unpopular opinion probably. That's not a bad thing, actually.
I don't think so either, actually.
Now
Yeah.
people's attention span is 7-second TikTok clips. It's probably good that your kids can focus on a 30-minute show or a 2-hour movie. You know what I mean?
I mean, they know a ton about dinosaurs, so...
I'm also a huge dinosaur fan. Are they really big into dinosaurs? Both of them?
Yeah, for sure. They know a lot of stuff, but there's so many shows, they learn so much that it's for real. They learn a ton about animals, a ton about dinosaurs, a ton about stuff just from certain cartoons that they like. So it's good.
I got into the Jurassic Park animated series on Netflix. I think I
Oh
told you this
gosh,
once.
Camp Cretaceous?
Yes.
I love it. How far
Okay.
are you?
So I've only watched probably 3 episodes of it,
God, it's so good.
but it's pretty good. I know I'm not supposed to like it as an
No.
adult, but
You are. It's great. There are many seasons, and even the most recent season was great. There's even a season in the middle where it's one of those you get to choose what to do Netflix shows.
oh, no way.
And every once in a while you get eaten by a dinosaur and you're like, damn it. And you have to go back and make different decisions.
Taylor,
But
do you
it's great.
remember
No,
those
Camp
books?
Cretaceous is so good. Legit good.
Do you remember when we were kids and those books Choose Your Own Adventures?
Mm-hmm.
Were
Yeah,
you like
exactly.
me? I would choose my original adventure, then I would go back and try the different versions of it.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay. All right. So I already did that. Okay.
Because you can't just read it once. It's not the way it works. But I
Thank
would
you.
I wouldn't go back to the beginning. I would go back to one.
Yeah. You go back
Yeah.
to some inflection point. Sweet. Well, yeah, I can go ahead and kick us off. I believe I'm going first today. So are you ready to be kicked off?
I'm ready. I can't wait.
Okay. So today, okay, so I'm gonna give a shout out. So Rachel was the origination point for this idea, but she just threw out an idea, and then I really honed and finessed it. But it was her idea. So I am going over. I'm going to cover surgeries. I'm going to cover 2 surgeries specifically that were done under the exact same circumstances, but they were remarkable circumstances because they took place in a very, very remote area of the world. So our first story takes place in 1961 at the, God help me, Novolazarevskaya station.
that Russian?
Yes.
Great. Hey, there you go. I knew that
I'm
was a Russian
trying.
word
I'm
from
trying. I literally,
that.
Taylor, I don't know if you do this the way I do it. I'll read the name of the thing and then I'll type it out phonetically on my computer
Mm-hmm.
and then like space it out so that I don't get too confused looking at the big word at once.
And then I'll like forget what I was thinking when I typed it phonetically. Because like the actual phonetic type that they have like on Wikipedia where it's like far more circumstantial and it like says exactly how to pronounce your name. I can't read that. I don't know
No,
what that
it's
is
like
at all.
hieroglyphics.
Yeah. There's like a dash and like it just doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, great.
So I'm gonna refer to this thing as a station because I literally exhausted every brain cell I had just now trying to pronounce it.
I'm
So
pretty sure you told me that you took Russian in school also.
so here's the thing. I can read and write Russian, but I do not know what I'm reading or what I'm writing. Like
But
the
that's
alphabet I
right.
memorized, but I don't know the words.
You can like pronounce it or no.
Actually, you know what? If I saw that, no, you know what? It would be just as hard. If I saw it written out in Russian, it would still take me a minute. Like I would know the Cyrillic alphabet, so I would
Hmm.
know what the hieroglyphics sound like, but it would still take me a minute to like actually read it out.
Cool.
So
Oh,
here we
great.
are.
We're in Russia.
So
Sounds
no,
warm.
no, we're not. We're not.
Oh, we're not.
So this station with whose first name I'm not gonna pronounce anymore, we're just gonna go by its family name of station. So this was a Soviet and now a Russian research station in Antarctica. So I learned a lot about the weather in Antarctica because I think that like the obvious answer is that it's like cold, but it's like a lot
Mhm.
worse than cold. So it's actually technically a desert. Like it's
Right,
the
because there's no vegetation.
no, because there's no precipitation.
Oh.
Yeah, there's no rain. There's no concept of rain in Antarctica. And the winters there are interesting because they actually run like almost totally actually yeah, it's completely inverse to our winters. The winters there are from March to September, and that's obviously the worst time to be there. It's always horrible to be there, but that's the worst time to be there. That's when like the temperature drops, averages are in the negative 80 degrees range. And so at a station like this, typically you have about 70 people that are at the station. But then like when winter's about to come, a lot of those people leave. And so you end up with this skeleton crew of, in the case that I'm talking about here today, about 14 people staying at the station. And
Hmm.
like I said, like the winter time experience, there's several things that are going on there that result in it being a really tough place to live. One thing I learned that kind of shocked me was that the sea ice around the perimeter of Antarctica freezes to such an extent that it doubles the size of the continent. Like that's how badly it gets cold there. And so
Hmm.
ships going, it's impossible. Like
Yeah.
a ship going, it would take them months to be able to traverse this. Also, blizzards are obviously very, very common, and that makes visibility for things like airdrops super difficult. But that's only if you're even able to get a plane in the area, because there's a thing also known as a okay, cat, cat, catop, catabatic wind Katapatic wind. So these are wind gusts that are exacerbated by gravity pulling the dense air down rapidly. And like I said, it will create gusts of wind that are equivalent to hurricane level. And so that makes flying in kind of impossible because you're not because of the conditions, you can't fly in with like a traditional like jet airplane. It would be too cold, especially. So one thing I read was that a big problem here was that fuel lines and hydraulic lines would constantly freeze on planes like before they would touch the ground, and that's obviously like not a good thing. So everybody would
No,
die.
no. That's
Yeah.
bad.
So in this case, we're going to be discussing a young 27-year-old surgeon named Leonid uh, Rogozov, and he was at this station during April, which is the middle of the winter, when he started feeling nauseous, weak, and pains in his abdomen. Given that you have done research on this topic. What do you think he might have been experiencing?
Ooh, an appendix exploding.
Which is called the what?
Burst appendix? Appendicitis?
Peri, peri,
Oh,
peritonitis. Peritonitis.
peritonitis. I definitely said that and would never remember that.
So, we'll have to figure out which episode that was, and y'all can go back and listen to the episode about appendicitis.
Appendices.
Appendixes. So,
Appendixes.
anyways, he realized that he was experiencing these symptoms, and the only cure for it, like we said, was an appendectomy. Unfortunately for him, Leonid was the only doctor at the station and realized that he was the most qualified person to perform his own surgery. So at 2 a.m. the next day, on May 1st, he started the surgery with the assistance of a driver for the facility and a meteorologist.
That poor
There's,
fucking meteorologist was
I
like,
know, he's like, dude, like,
absolutely not. This is
I
not
am
all I'm
used
here
to,
for.
I'm good with green screens. I can do green screens all day long.
Yeah,
I
I'm
do
not
not
doing
want to
this.
look at
She
blood.
doesn't shit.
So he ends up he sets himself down. He lays half reclined and he starts cutting into his abdominal wall. And actually, he actually cuts too deep and cuts into what's called a cecum, which is the starting point of our large intestine. So in addition to everything else, he now has to suture that up.
Is he like drinking?
No, he has Novocaine. He's using a local
Okay.
topical anesthetic on
Oh my
himself.
God. Okay.
So after he fixes his small intestine cut with sutures, he pulls out his appendix and cuts it off and then sutures the end wound and then applies antibiotics to it and then sutures up the abdominal wall. And this is incredible because the assistants that he had do this for him also took pictures of him conducting the procedure. Can you look these up, Taylor?
Yes. Wait, what do I search?
So do Leonid Leonid surgery, and you should find him.
The man who cut out his own appendix. Oh, good. All these images have the don't look at it mark. But I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, it's because it's just it's
Oh God.
Isn't it wild?
What? He's wearing all white and then it's just and just like digging into his stomach and it's covered in blood. Wow.
So I described in this outline that the pictures of him, I would describe him as like unfazed and almost disinterested in the
He looks
activity of pulling his guts out. Like he's like
he
just
looks
like
chill as shit
whatever.
with his like I know he's wearing a mask when he's doing it, but other photos of him, he's like, "What's up?" And he's just like has like a mustache. Like he
Yeah,
looks like someone we know.
yeah, yeah. No, he's like just yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. He
Yeah.
looks like he's fishing around in his guts and is just like, I guess I'm doing this now. I don't know what
Like
I'm gonna be doing next week.
like
Maybe playing cards.
the way that you look when you are recording this podcast from a bed where I know you are resting your laptop on your belly and then just like looking at me in a weird way, like that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, like would you say that the description of him just like unfazed is accurate?
Yeah, it's wild.
So he ends up doing that. So please look that photo up because it's like absolutely stunning.
Wow.
And then 2 weeks after this, he's back at work. Like he literally just goes back to work, and then he leaves the station when the winter break ends. Because when winter ends, there's when they start flying planes back over, and ships start going back, and people start doing rotational shifts and stuff like that. He ends up going back to Russia. He becomes a published author in medical science. And he actually ended up only being 66 years old when he died in 2000 from lung cancer because he's
Huh.
Russian and he probably smoked 50 cigarettes a minute.
He was also probably smoking a cigarette while he was doing this. Like,
Yeah, he's like
I
kind
bet
of
there was like
cool.
the meteorologist was like handing him a cigarette.
He's like
And then,
kind of a cool dude.
he seems really cool.
Like he
Like,
seems like if he met me, he wouldn't hang out with me. Like that's how cool
no,
he is.
100%.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you,
Same.
thank you so much for validating
Same.
that, Taylor.
I'm saying same. He wouldn't hang out with us. He'd be like, I am busy.
So our second story is way more recent, and it's America oriented because it takes place in the U.S. controlled Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. South Pole, obviously Antarctica, same situation. They're actually like only like 14, not only, they're 1,400 miles apart from each other, these two stations. And a lot of countries have stations in Antarctica. Like it's a big thing.
They do. They're looking for, I don't know, man. It's not good.
The thing.
Yeah, they're looking for like the part of the core that holds like the secret to infinite energy and or a plague that will kill all of us and or an alien worm that will also kill all of us.
I'm kind of okay with any of those outcomes, to be honest with you. I mean, I
I
don't have
mean,
kids, so like
whatever.
I don't really care what happens to the world. Like, that's fine. Find the plague, release it. It's okay. I'm gonna be dead soon anyways. Um, so a really fun fact about this station, there's a thing there called the 300 Club. To our fanatically Christian listeners, you might think the 300 Club has to do with Billy Graham. It does not. The 300 Club has to do with humans who have experienced a 300-degree switch in temperature. And what you do when you're at this station, and you got to plan this because it's kind of the temperature outside would be nuts. So basically, what you do is you sit in a hot sauna set at 200 degrees for about 10 minutes, and then you wait for the outside temperature to hit negative 100 degrees Fahrenheit,
No.
which happens like not that. Like I said, the average temp is around negative 80 degrees. So you got to be like, it's got to be you got to plan for this. When it hits negative 100, you run out of the sauna into the cold and you do a loop around. There's a bunch of flags that are planted outside of the station in a circle fashion, and you do a loop around them. But it's interesting because you actually can't run because you can't snort up a ton of air because there's moisture in the air and it'll freeze your lungs and those will burst. And so you
Dude,
got to like
I don't know how you don't die.
you got to kind of shuffle. You got to kind of shuffle. They go out there naked except for
What?
shoes. They do wear shoes, but you shuffle and then you like make your way back inside. But you can't go too slow because you'll die immediately of freezing. But you can't go too fast because then you'll destroy your lungs from breathing too much.
What?
So that's a
And
fun little thing. It's called a 300 Club. Again, you're going from 200 to negative 100. Very few people seem to have done this, but it seems fun. I would do it,
I would
right?
absolutely not do it. I don't even like a sauna when it's like a little hot. Like I'm certainly not going in like a super hot
Taylor, when
sauna.
you come, are you coming to Austin again anytime soon?
No.
Okay, if you do plan something, I got really into the sauna cold plunge thing. I don't do it. I don't do it regularly because it's super expensive. But for like a little bit, I got like into it when I was able to do it regularly, and it kind of is amazing. Like you feel almost high doing it. So if you ever make it out here, we'll go do that. I'll show you.
Okay.
You sound so interested.
I'm super not interested, but fine.
It's weird because your body's like it's so you go from one extreme discomfort to another extreme discomfort, and then you realize like what even is comfort? Is everything comfort now? Like is life just a living hell, and everything you just gotta adapt your brain to be comfortable with anything? That's kind of what
Literally,
it's like.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally what it's like. That's why I think that's why people get like hooked on it is because you're just like your body's shocked at like what it's having to survive.
Oh my gosh.
So
Incredible.
back to this station. So in 1998, there was an emergency room doctor whose name was Jerri Nielsen, who took a 1 year contract to be the main doctor of this station in 1998. So while she was there, she discovered a lump on her breast and was like, this is where I'm like, it's gotta suck being a doctor. Sometimes like you know how bad things are, like you know
Yeah.
what it looks like. Whereas like if you don't know, you're like, it'd be fine. But she found this lump on her breast and she used email and video conferencing with stateside doctors to be like, well, what's going on? She biopsied her own
Mhm.
breast. She literally cut out tissue from herself to biopsy it
Oh my
and
God.
send the details of what she found back to stateside doctors via email and remote telehealth, which was, I'm sure, amazing in 1998.
Yeah, wow. It's like, yeah, no.
Yeah, probably didn't work too good. But those doctors, they were like, we can't tell if this is cancerous or not. And so what they decided to do was to get her more supplies via airdrop. This was apparently a fucking nightmare because when they were trying to do this, there was a blizzard outside. So it was too cold for the plane to land. And what they had to do is have some poor people run outside and light trash cans on fire for the plane to know where to drop the stuff, because in the middle of blizzard you actually don't know where you're oriented underneath you. You can't see lights and stuff, and so they ended up lighting these blazes for the plane to see.
I
Yeah,
don't want to be someone that says Antarctica is stupid, but like that is stupid.
you are so anti the thing. Like I don't know what your deal is, but you really don't want the plague to come back, and I don't
I
get it.
don't. I know you haven't watched X-Files, but the best X-Files episode, this happens.
You know what's funny? I don't know for sure, but I feel like you and Jay, like there's an element of judgment every time you remind me that I didn't watch the X Files,
Oh,
I
no,
think you're doing I think
that's
you're doing
not
it on
imagined.
purpose.
You're not imagining that. No, that's true. I feel bad for you, and I'm judging you.
Is it
I
because you
watched it.
know
Yeah,
everything I watch like makes me the perfect X Files fan, and I haven't done it?
I watched it when I worked at a hedge fund like 20 years ago, and I worked there for like 6 years, but I was like sick of it by like year four. So I just watched X-Files on my computer, but I was like very clearly like in people could like see that I was doing it. And someone was like, I think Taylor's trying to get fired. And I was like, and they did not fire me. I continued, but I watched all the X-Files.
But is that why y'all judge me so hard? Because I should be an X Files fan?
Yes, you absolutely should be. It's so good.
Okay, fair enough. So anyways, back to Jerri Nielsen. So the airdrop was conducted on July 11th of 1998. With these new supplies, it was conclusively determined that she definitely had breast cancer. And so she is the only person in history to have applied chemotherapy to herself,
Whoa.
and having done so in Antarctica, the worst place to be alone with cancer.
Wow.
So this was, I mean, it was going as well as you could expect, but what they decided to do was, so I mentioned that the winter time in Antarctica ends in September. October is when they decided, hey, we got to like get her out, because like even October is like a little bit too close to winter to like really be comfortable with flying into Antarctica. But they still did it. They're like, she needs to get out of there. Like she's been doing chemotherapy to herself for a number of months. We got to get her back. They ended up running an emergency mission like several weeks early to bring her back, and that's what they did. They landed, they picked her up, they took her back, and this was like really terrifying apparently for everybody involved, because again, if the hydraulic lines on a plane freeze, like the wings coming off a plane are less of a big deal than your hydraulics not working. Like you are
Mm-hmm.
for sure dead, like if hydraulics don't work. And so that was
Mm-hmm.
the biggest concern of the situation. Regardless, they were able to pick her up and take her back to the state where she was administered professional treatment, and the cancer went into remission. Unfortunately for her, that only lasted a few years. So in 2005, the cancer actually came back, and it was awful. It apparently went to her brain, her liver, and her bones. Like she got riddled with cancer,
Oh
and she
no.
died in March of 2009. But she spent that time being a motivational speaker, writing a book, and she got married again. And yeah, I think she had a pretty decent life for what it was. But
Okay, I don't want to sound insane, but like, did anyone else there get cancer?
I don't
Like,
think so. I don't read.
isn't it like is it radioactive down there?
Are you trying to X Files this episode, right?
I am a little bit.
Jeez.
Is the South Pole radioactive? Yeah. There's more cosmic. Oh, well, it says no, it's not radioactive, but the poles get more cosmic radiation than the equator.
Are you on Infowars.com?
I'm on the Center for Domestic Preparedness.gov. Cosmic radiation. Oh, good. This is something I have to worry about. I don't need this. I don't need the Center for
Can't worry about it.
Domestic Prep. No, absolutely not.
But
Never
yeah,
mind.
those were two fun surgery stories that I came up with. And there was one, there was I researched it a little bit. I was going to do an episode on. I was like, this is so stupid. I can't even do an episode on it. there was a doctor in like the 1900s who became famous for cutting the heads off dogs to sew them onto other dogs and then reanimating the heads. Like it actually worked.
What?
And I was like, I was actually talking to Rachel about it. I was like, what's the
What do you,
scientific discovery? Like, what are you trying?
what do you mean worked?
As in, he was able to reconnect the blood supply enough to where the dog was aware and awake, but it was paralyzed, so it couldn't move anything. But like, it was like cognizant of what was going on.
Whoa.
It's like, what did you learn? Like, what are you gonna saw off a possum's head next? Are you gonna advance medical science? Like,
Yeah,
what's
like
the
you can't, you're
idea?
not like, I don't know. What's like, if he could tell you something, maybe.
But it was a so sorry, it wasn't in the 1900s. I'm thinking about a guy who cut monkeys' heads off in the 1900s. The dog guy was 1800s, and apparently Mary Shelley knew about this, and like it was like a thing in her time, and is believed to be the inspiration for Frankenstein as well. So
Well, I know, I don't think I feel like I didn't hear that, but I know that people were reanimating frogs with like electricity, but just
it's
like
called
making them move.
it's called like gallantism, I think. Gallant something. Gallantism.
Um,
You're
well, it
right.
didn't
You're
come.
right. You know what? I got my timing off. The monkey decapitating reanimation guy, that was like the 1950s. The early 1900s was the dog decapitation guy. And then before that was the frog animation
Mm-hmm.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like various versions of like psychopaths throughout
Yeah.
history that like
No, wild.
so
Well, cool. Those are gross stories.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go there though.
I don't. It's too cold for me. Like, I don't want to be in a substation where there's like a finite amount of food.
No, but isn't it fun knowing that death is like outside of a wall next to your head?
No.
I don't know. I feel like I go to sleep cozy knowing that. It's the same reason why I sleep so well when it's like really windy and rainy outside. I sleep like a rock. It's so cozy.
That's
It's like,
fair. No, I like it. I like sleeping in, I like when there's a storm, but I don't like it when it's like, if my appendix explodes, I'm gonna die.
I mean, I don't know. You be that guy, the chillest, coolest doctor in the world.
They're
Man,
not that
some
cool.
for some reason, I feel like Russians or Soviets in the 1960s were cool as shit. When you look at pictures like Stalin when he was like 25, 30 years old, you're like,
Your shit.
that guy, that guy is like, he would be a slam poet on a Wednesday and like a machine gunnist on like a
He
Friday. Like
he could
it's
move
like
to
the
Austin in like 2 seconds and everybody
yeah,
would be like,
it's
hey.
like the every he's like every extreme of cool that exists on the spectrum of cool, like he
Mhm.
does.
I mean,
Nope.
he also killed a lot of people, but there's that one picture of him where he's
We're
super
I know
cute.
we're not promoting
Yeah,
Stalin.
we're against the genocide and Stalin.
We're against like genocides in general.
Yeah, and like,
Not just the ones that Stalin did, but I'm gonna
yeah, all
add
of them.
Hitler,
Hmm.
Pol
I do
Pot.
like I do like the pictures of FDR and Churchill and Stalin where they're like what are they even talking about? I love
It's cool as shit. It's like, hey, isn't it awesome? We rule the world. It's
it.
cool.
Hmm. Um, well, cool, fun. That was super fun.
So that is my story. Taylor, do you have anything to lead us off with?
We got a bunch of responses about Niagara Falls. A lot of people have been there. Our friend Morgan has been everywhere. I mean, honestly, but she had sent me a video of her underneath like a different waterfall that's like more powerful that I might share. And then I shared some stuff from Kiara because she actually went to Niagara Falls in the summer and made like a nice Instagram story about it. So I shared that. And then Nadine also, she lives in Canada, but they've been to the falls a lot and they really like it. So I
Fun.
think you should go there.
We chased waterfalls and nothing bad happened.
Yeah, I think you could. Oh, and everyone wanted us to know that the glaciers melt and that goes into the Great Lakes and then that creates Niagara Falls. That's where the water comes from.
That's how much they melt.
Mhm.
I don't understand that. How can it melt
Also, like
so
snow
much?
melts too, but like so that's happening like all year round. Because like even here in the desert, we have some mountains that have snow through like May when it's like in the 90s. But I can see a mountain with snow on it still, you know.
Seriously?
Mhm. Like
Well,
not
yeah.
like
I
next
mean,
to me, but it's like higher. Like there's this hike that my friend Dawn might do, and it's from downtown Palm Springs to the top of whatever mountain that is, where like there's in Palm Springs there's a like a gondola like a in the air that takes you up to the top of this mountain, but the hike is like the elevation goes from like 0 to 10,000 on the hike, and it's like one of like the hardest hikes in America. And but by the time you get to the top, you're cold. You know, like you start in Palm Springs where you're hot, by the time you get to the top, you're cold. It's like, but it's still like snowy up there.
we can make it the 50-degree club.
It's true, but we'll take the tram
Yes.
and like
Yes.
wave at the people who are walking up it.
Well, thanks for writing in, telling us your stories. We love hearing from you. So
Yeah,
do more of that at doomtofellpod@gmail.com or on the socials.
doomed to fail pod. Tell your friends.
Tell your
See you
family.
soon. Oh, also, let us know if we were in your wrapped of like Spotify or mine and Pocket Casts where I listen to stuff. If
Thank
we're
you,
one of your top
Daniel.
podcasts, please tell
Got to
us.
sh
Yes.
got to shout out Daniel. Thank you for sharing that we were in your top 5 Spotify.
And
That
if
was
you send me
awesome.
Daniel's address, I'll send him a sticker. That's part of the
Yay.
deal. If you let us know that you're wearing your top, we will send you a sticker. And I will mail it to you whenever. And also, far as I really think that inside Spotify, there is a way for you to see our creator stats.
Did I set that up?
I don't know. We'll talk about it later. But like, I really feel like you have access to stuff because I see other podcasts being like, Spotify says we have this much growth this year and we release this number of episodes. And I'm like, it has to be in there.
All right. I am going to Google around.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.
Okay, bye.